Breaking, they just made it official. Every anti gun marcher is about to freak. Gun owners love this. Democrats are going to freak, by Frank Lee for dailyvine.com. Misguided teenagers were being used as pawns in a Democratic chess move pushing the anti gun agenda. On the March for Our Lives, while the Iowa Senate passed a striking resolution that could change their constitution and send anti gun agenda pushers into a mass frenzy. After seeing what Iowa just voted on and passed by a staggering 54 to 42 vote, it's shocking to see that the Democrats in the state haven't begun rioting yet. That's perhaps because people are too busy worrying about what teens like David Hogg and Emma Gonzalez are up to with their shenanigans and puppetry perpetrated by the Democrats, who pay for things like buses and travel expenses for people to appear as the protest against guns. Meanwhile, in other locations, people were actually getting real things done. There was a very drastic exchange, and the result was a stunning victory for Republicans, who could now place a resolution to the right to bear arms on the Iowa Constitution and would be featured on a ballot in November of 2020 election. There's plenty of legislation that needs to occur before anything is official. However, the votes are in, and it's official thus far. It will go to a second approval in 2019 or 2020. The amendment will ensure that people have the absolute right to keep and bear arms. This amendment will protect the Second Amendment and allow people to continue defending themselves with self-defense weapons, guns for hunting, and even those who participate in gun ownership as a hobby. It will undoubtedly cause Democrats to get their feathers ruffled and sparked a massive controversy if other states catch on and begin protecting the population by allowing them to defend themselves from enemies and animals for those who live in extremely rural areas which might have bears that like to sniff around. The Des Moines Register reported more details on the proposed amendment. Iowa is one of the only 6 states not to have language protecting a right to bear arms in its state constitution. They also rejected implications by Democrats that the constitutional amendment could promote gun violence. In the big majority of countries around the United States, there are no murders, or maybe one in a given year. In many counties around the United States, or and those of a lot of rural areas, almost everybody owns a firearm, but they don't murder people, said Senator Julian Garrett, Republican of Indianola. It is only in concentrated areas where we have these murders. The resolution says the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The sovereign state of Iowa affirms and recognizes this right to be a fundamental individual right, and any and all restrictions of this right shall be subject to strict scrutiny. Much of the debate focused on the strict scrutiny provisions. Iowa would become only the fourth state to have the strict scrutiny requirements. Some Democrats suggested the wording would add a higher standard in the courts that could prevent lawmakers from requiring gun owners to have permits or undergo background checks. Or it could even allow Iowa gun owners to acquire machine guns. Senator Tony Bisignano, Democrat from Des Moines, said he is baffled when he hears legislators talk about the intentions of the nation's founding fathers, as though modern people knew what they envisioned for firearms. Can you envision what arms will look like in 150 years? What we have today for arms is beyond their imagination, Bisignano said. Republicans suggested the strict scrutiny language was to provide guidance to the courts, cautioning that some activist judges offer their own views when interpreting laws. Senator Brad Zaun from Urbandale, the resolution's the floor manager, urged support for the measure. I trust the Iowa voter, he said. They are going to tell us if they don't like the language in front of us. They are going to tell us how important their Second Amendment rights are. The constitutional amendment is supported by the National Rifle Association, Iowa Firearms Coalition, Iowa Minutemen, Civil Defense Corps, and ABATE of Iowa. The opponent includes the Iowa Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church, the League of Women Voters of Iowa, and the Giffords, a gun violence prevention group founded by former U.S. Rep. Gabrielle Gifford and her husband, retired astronaut Mark Kelly. This is not the first time Iowa Republicans have attempted to amend the state constitution to include protections for the right to keep and bear arms. A previous effort in 2012 would have used more expansive language that said mandatory licensing, registration, or special taxation as a condition of the exercise of the right to keep and bear arms is prohibited. That bill failed to advance in the Senate, which at the same time was controlled by Democrats. Both the House and Senate are now controlled by Republicans. Republicans can expect big-name Democrats like Chucky Schumer and Nancy Wacko Pelosi to voice their opinion on this, while the local leftists in Iowa cause an issue for the people who wish to keep and bear arms. There's reportedly over 300 million guns in the country, and the majority of the gun owners and guns are not participants in a crime. America has a people problem, and there's a lot of crimes committed without guns. If America can convince people to follow the law, then we wouldn't be in any situation where unknowledgeable teenagers are marching for things they know little about. Well, at least it's a one win there, you know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.